from the historical and current tactic of it. So when you have law enforcement officers who stay committed to supporting Derek Chauvin, even when they watched him murder that person right there on and international on social, when they see that and they still, that's an institutional commitment. That's not necessarily supporting Derek Chauvin, because some of them didn't even know Derek Chauvin, but they still lended his support because he was wearing the badge. That's an institutional thing. And that's the conversation that we're having, because when some of us in our communities can't connect to how violent these institutions can get and have expressively gotten, not only with the indigenous community, but with Black bodies and you want to say Latinos or Puerto Rican and Cuban and Dominican bodies, that is a reality for us, that too many of us in those communities are victims of oppressive tactics from those institutions. So we're talking about a people in their relationship to an institution. We're not talking about individuals. Because again, there's a few of them, and I know personally, they put on that badge and they're committed to serving the community. And that's not the kind, I don't need to elevate them. It's their responsibility to bring not only the moral conscience to their institution that pays them, but bring an advocacy of saying, I'm not only want to make the city better, but I have to make this institutional better because it has a history of harming communities and repressing communities in a very violent way. And so we're not always transmitting that from one generation to the next in an institutional way where we can be mindful of that. We have conversations with people even to this day that believe that some of the stuff that I'm saying is just Blackology,
Mm.
and it's centering too much of Black folks and what we're victim of. And the reality is that both of these exist, and that some of us have to just continue to elevate the narrative of our visceral experience of what happens to us when we interact with law enforcement. That's a real thing. And it doesn't mean we have to pathologize my experience around that, but it's a real thing. It doesn't always lead to death. Sometimes I think we get a little too occupied with talking about how law enforcement kills Black bodies. But let's suspend how many people are killed by law enforcement, and let's talk about how many Black bodies, how many Latino bodies are harassed by law enforcement on a day-to-day basis. Because then the numbers go up. Now we're talking statistics. Now we're talking about large amounts of data where we're seeing people profiled, where we're seeing people harassed, where we're seeing people targeted. And it doesn't always lead with death. Sometimes it's just an inconvenience of being arrested when they shouldn't have been arrested, been pulled over when they shouldn't have been pulled over, been stopped in the mall when they shouldn't have been stopped. You know,
Mhm.
that's the type of piece that we're talking about, the relationship. And when we bring that type of experience into this, I think there's a detachment and the disassociation amongst some of us who don't want to deal with that reality because it's too hard. It goes against what they're socialized with. Some of my brothers, just a few, some of my brothers down in Florida, my Cuban brothers, they're committed that the institution of Florida and what they've created down there protects them against the reality of what America is. And no, you only just have to go back just literally 80 years to see the complications of Florida,
Mm.
and Florida in America to be able to see, like, you're not protected like that. You make a classify yourself as white, but that whiteness has some diversity and complexity that does not always show up supportively in the executive branch of the United States. And so they're not always protected, but they believe they are. They've been able to insulate and create a Florida that looks like it's a symbol of what America is. And it's diluting. It could create a disassociation because you're not knowing the history of what America is. So I think hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah.
And by the way, Brass, this is an apple, brother. This man said I'm eating a tomato. It's an apple, man.
Um, in your opinion, what political ideology would you say is the best one out of all
What
of
you
them,
mean?
from anarchy to capitalism to socialism to communism to whatever, any
Mm.
form of government?
I really don't know. I don't know. I think me and you talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough, not only experience, but I don't have enough research to understand what a real communist society looks like. I don't know what a real socialist society looks like. Um, I can give you some understanding of what capitalism look like, but I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know if one exists better in its own autonomy versus the other. I don't know if it requires a combination or we have to look at these societal social systems on a spectrum and try to incorporate pieces of it. I really don't know. That's a hard question that requires a little bit of thought, a little bit more
Yeah.
reading for me, and investigation. Because one thing I do know is that at different times you have seen communist programs show up in America, and it's created a saving grace for the American public. And some of them don't even know that these programs was heavily influenced and theoretically anchored on communist programs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
I'm in the same boat with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have. I personally, I don't overall. I don't trust none of them.
Mm.
Trust any of them. Mm. I don't trust no
So you
politician.
have no trust for none, huh?
Mm-mm. I don't trust none of them, bro. Because I think it's if there ever was, because it's not a communist country. If there ever was a communist country, and let's just say that communist country had the power and everything that America had, it probably would do the same shit.
Mm.
If it was a social country, probably the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, bro. That's what they call that, the rabbit hole.
It is. It is.
But but I mean, it's like I've been to Canada, I've been to Cuba. I mean, Canada is a type of socialist country. When I was there, I think they were conservative socialist.
Mm.
Um, I liked it. It was more expensive, a little bit more expensive than New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it was clean. It was nice. Like I ain't seen nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of quote unquote immigrants there.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a very Caribbean, East African. I saw a lot of like Ethiopian, Somalians, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but definitely a lot of West Indian people.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the piece that I'm curious about Canada is because what is the true demographics of that nation, and how do you can you assess the success and the fidelity of how that political economy work in relationship to the demographics that it has? Because I mean, if we know that there's a like you're saying there's a diverse group of people, what is the per pupil relationship between that diversity and the white population, French Canadian, whatever they call it, the white population? Because if that diversity only makes up
Mhm.
17% of the population, then I'm curious if a socialist conservative nation can operate like that because it's still centralized whiteness or French Canadian whiteness in its total. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I got questions on it.
you get double colonizer language there. So you drive
Mm.
walking, you get French and you get English.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the language says what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not speaking in indigenous tongue. They're speaking in French tongue, speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
Mm-hmm.
that rubs people wrong. That subject. But
Yeah.
I think that topic of linguistic imperialism sheds light to a lot of things. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Talks about how the when people are colonized, taken over, they speak the language,
Mm-hmm.
adopt the names, all these things, all these different terms has come up to define people and label people. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
in closing, unless you want me to keep going,
Oh no, we could close out.
all right. Closing. Um, with um, with everything that's going on in the world today, right? If you were able to stand on a podium with a microphone and
Oh,
have the whole entire planet looking at you,
oh
what
man.
would be the message?
For one, I would never be in a boat like that. If somebody gave me a microphone, I would completely decline it. Honestly, I'm not equipped to be able to answer that. I don't know what I would say because I would have different messages for different people.
Mm,
And there's nothing I can succinctly say that would be universal to each community, to each nation. Um, I really don't know. Um, but I know there's a conversation that I'm gonna prioritize with African descendants. And I know there's a conversation that I know I need to have there because I identify ethnically and even nationally as an African descendant, and I'm never going to change that. I'm never going to make any qualms about that. That's who I am. That's my politics. That's my outlook. That's my orientation. So I would definitely prioritize some type of message to them, but I would never be in a position to have a global you know, um, platform like that. But if I was thrust into something like that,
mm.
it'll have to be different messages to different groups of people. And I wouldn't know exactly what I would say. And I'm not even versed enough. Like you know me, bro. I'm just a black man that read two books, one or two books. That's it. I don't know a whole lot. And but I'm committed to having a conversation. I'm committed to changing and challenging what I do know to have that conversation and learn a little deeper so I can make more wiser choices, not only for my family, but for the community that I serve. So if I have to discard a little bit of something that I know and understand to take on something that's a little bit more effective and more wider and more grabbing, that's more healthier for my people, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I think that is uniquely a challenge amongst a lot of people, especially my age in our generation, in your generation, is that we get convicted in a set of ideas and beliefs, and we don't want to move from that at all.
Mm,
We don't want to challenge ourselves to think something different, um, to challenge our paradigm, to look at the worldview from a different perspective. And we spend the remaining years of our life trying to justify our ideas and our beliefs instead of remaining just a little bit more malleable to learn and to accept new perspectives. We stop learning, and that means we stop having healthy discourse. And so, once again, my little shameless plug, if you want to have some good discourse, got to develop a little bit of thick skin, join the Trimedia Innovations because you can really expand your thinking and your process there. And I got other communities that I'm having these harder conversations with. Most of it is not online. Like I'm only online to meet with you and my brothers in TMI, my sisters in TMI. But outside of that, all of my conversations are in person. I'm a part of
mm,
a brotherhood up here where we're having some of these hard conversations as we're making choices and navigating the city and doing the projects that we're doing. And and that's healthy. You have to be in real time with some of these conversations too. There's some real things that's happening on the ground in the Twin Cities and the surrounding suburbs, and it requires not only conversations but a little bit of movement to to get through this, because it is difficult. Now I'm having this conversation with you poised because I spent 2 hours with my brother Cuban centering myself this morning. Had a little bit of sanity. I laughed with you. I was able to kind of detach away from it. But the stuff that's happening here, it's a challenge right now. It's a challenge. It's not only a challenge for me, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I don't want to talk about me. It's a challenge for the city right now. And it's always been every single time these things happen, from Dante Wright to George Floyd, Jamar Clark, Philando Castile, Terrence Franklin, all of these people who have died. And I can even go there. I can't remember my my brother, my Somali brother, who was murdered by law enforcement 4 years ago too. Um, all of these people who have died by repressive tactics on behalf of law enforcement, some sanctioned system by the state or the federal, um, it's caused some significant emotional impact in the community. And it would challenge what you think about things. It would challenge what you understand about things, especially when you're seeing it in your city. It would challenge you. I may have had some preconceived notions 7, 8 years ago, but as I've had to witness this and literally be involved with community processes to protect my community from people setting bombs and setting stuff on fire, destroying things, creating vigilance in my community, it's it can wear on um, the ethos. It can wear on your morality. It can wear on your strength and your source, your resource. And so I thank you, brother, for one. In closing, I thank you for standing in this space with me and just allowing me to have some distracting conversations to kind of help ground me a little bit. And I have to thank TMI for allowing me to just come on and just listen to these brothers talking about whether LeBron was taking steroids or not. It's just these are the type of modalities that you need to get through, and to kind of like when you're driving and you're seeing these agents and something is about to happen, like it makes it, it's somatically it impacts your blood pressure, your
Mm.
heart rate. It makes your mind race a little bit. I struggled with sleep last night because I just couldn't rest after um you know um being a part of the space where I seen people get really hurt by pepper spray and really get beat down. And so, um, we need spaces like these conversations. We need spaces like Tri Media Innovations. We need spaces that can just black. I'm speaking of men right now, men, because we tend to only do things in our cerebral, and we don't come down to the level of what we need to feel so we can process these things. That sometimes just being able to have some good, healthy conversation and laugh with some brothers can just get us through the hour. It can get us through the afternoon. It can get us through the evening. It can get us through the day, and it can get us through. And so I appreciate you, brother. Like for real, for real.
I think I appreciate you too, man. You always dropping some good jewels, man. And
Salute.
in that
Like
Discord, it's difficult at times to find like my.
yeah, yeah. One of the big homies up in there, he fully believes that, the woman was a trained agitator and she was trying to weaponize her car. And I'm not gonna have that back and forth with him because I'm, you know, I'm finding out that the woman's son used to play, and we used to play next. She lives next door to my godmother, and my sons and my nephews used to play all the time together. Like that's too close to me, Like I'm seeing I'm seeing these connections, and I'm like, I can't do. Like I get it, you way over there, And the only thing you can go off of is just some social media, couple of video clips, comments. But if you was actually here and you've actually seen what actually happened and hearing accounts of multiple people who was there, you'll have to really have a demented type of thinking and a demented type of perspective to still try to convince yourself that that narrative. It would take a lot to try to convince yourself of that narrative if you was here seeing and experiencing this stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'll land there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of ICE, so I think if she was gonna do that, she should have. I think go rent a big ass pickup truck. If you're gonna do it, the U-Haul truck. But where was she, in the minivan?
Yeah, it was like a
Like
Honda.
or something.
Honda Pilot or something like
A
that.
pipe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
These dudes are big ass expeditions and excursions and like I don't know. So, but you're convicted in your beliefs and you figured I'm gonna disrupt the best way I can. She was gentle, she was nice, she didn't react to them, you know.
Yeah.
No, and then really trying to turn this narrative around. My brother said the crispiest tomato you ever seen. I'm struggling with my apple, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And there's some people who's committed to doing some good work around this. I don't want to go into details around this because I don't know how much I can share around this, but there's a committed group of people who's basically doing ice watch. I don't know how they're getting their intel. Man, it's very impressive. But they know a lot of where ICE is going to be at different points and different times.
They're the scumbags. They out here too, man.
Yeah. And so
You
they're
know.
showing up and they're creating protests. What happened at one of our high schools the other day was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And that's when you know that there's not a grounded conscience to the direction and the leadership of these agents, because if you can't refrain from trying to violently suppress children, high school children, and you're on a high school grounds and you can't de-escalate and say this is not the space, that means we're dealing with something that has history. This is the violence of what America could look like against its own citizens. It's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Mm. All right. Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I'm about to
Likewise.
take some NyQuil.
Yeah, take care of yourself, man. Take care of
I'm
yourself.
not, but because I could have gone on for another hour, 2 hours, but
Yeah.
um, nah,
No, you
nah.
got to get your rest, man. Like I told
Not
you.
only that, but like I think you know, it depends on the topic too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is with this, I'm not a big fan of having a bunch of people on at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because that just never goes well.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing and all that, and people cutting each other off. I don't like entertainment. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
all right,
Appreciate
bro.
you, bro. Get your
No doubt.
rest, get hydrated, sleep, and we'll touch base this weekend, man. Thank you for
All right,
having
bro.
me on.
No doubt, man.
All right. Peace.